everyone, and welcome to our third virtual community engagement session of the year. It is October. I'm with Lexington 2 Superintendent Dr. Nicholas Wade.
Hello.
And it is October, and that means, for me, favorite month, but always the fast slide through to December and the end of the end of the year.
Fast.
I mean, it's like
It never felt fast to me.
Not fast enough, but it always feels fast to me. And hey, it feels like we're at a good point. And so I'm going to jump right into my first question because got some good news about it. COVID. I mean, it wouldn't seem to be a virtual community engagement session if I didn't ask you first about what's the latest with COVID here in Lexington 2.
So, I was just that general.
Are we touchy
it's
today?
like pretty great. I'm sure that's in reference. Obviously, we had the temporary mask policy. And every Friday, as promised, I keep sending something out to all of our stakeholders to make sure everyone knows just what's happening, friendly reminder why we did it, and all those wonderful circumstances and what our numbers are. Even though I'm an English teacher, and that is the greatest subject of them all, however, math is clearly becoming a little bit more affectionate towards math. When you look at the data, our number of those who are quarantined and positive has dropped
significantly.
For everyone there who has not seen it, so if you're not actually an employee, student, or parent in the district and you don't get all this as easily, one of the big things is like the day that the board approved the temporary policy, we had almost 1,500 quarantine and 200 positive. And now I think yesterday it was like 40 positive and now 170 quarantine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's significant of the drop off, which was the goal, because the biggest issue we were running into was how quickly we were quarantining classrooms and schools or shutting down schools because of how many students were out when they didn't really need to be, as we had to follow DHEC, guidelines. And that's the other positive. We don't have any classrooms on quarantine. We have not shut down any schools. We are staying open. We continue to, knock on wood. And that's a good thing, especially in comparison, to other districts.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have that. And frankly, it's not a topic I really deal with, frequently. So things are going well on that front. I mean, again, who would have thought it's a low bar to keep schools in session for a school year, but that's the world we're in right now.
Right. And I did want to note that if you aren't sure if you received a communication or if you want to track our numbers daily, go to our lex2.org website where we update our COVID numbers for students daily on the website, and Lex 2.0 where we post all of the communications that have come out about COVID and
all of it since
reopening.
December, right?
Yes, exactly.
Last December.
So when I was talking about the good news, I could not be more excited about kids being in school and about our numbers continuing to be in a good range for positives and quarantines. So
yeah, I mean,
very excited to start my October like that.
It's very good. I mean, and I really felt bad because we did move 4 schools to remote learning, and I really feel like, because I feel like that week of in-service with all of our employees and even the students coming back from the summer and everything last year, I really felt like we really were like in this positive zone. And I have an inbox to prove it. Like, so it was a very positive zone that I think everyone was in, and man, when we just started, not just those 4 schools, but quarantining whole classrooms, like I mean, I'll never have data all I can speak of is all my engagement with people and all those who communicate with me and my own observations, but you can tell it just really became this brick wall in a way, because now it was like, I moved to remote learning for 2 weeks. It's my school next, it's my classroom next.
Right.
I mean, when we were calling it for some buildings, I had parents from other buildings calling the office just to make sure
worrying.
they were next. Like,
exactly.
And that's just not a good place for anyone to be in. So, the fact that we've been able to provide consistency It's been very clearly communicated to me. That's been appreciated, and that's hopefully something we continue to provide. And I think in terms of new COVID news, I mean, really the only thing I think in my letter, the most recent thing was kind of a frequent question I get now, aside from every now and again a vaccine question, is about is DHEC going to change their guidelines? And I think what's really important is the data that we're all submitting as school districts to DHEC, which is like the number of your student and staff, positive quarantine, close contacts, all that good stuff that we actually keep track of. They get it, and then theoretically they use that to make informed decisions about future guidance, whatever it may be, or however they amend it. And and the only thing they came up with was obviously the when you should close the school, but for the number of kids that are quarantined. But the biggest thing is about, will they change their guidance? Now, obviously, I don't work for DHEC, I don't serve on a special committee, but if you're looking at data, and we have we have a very low number of students who are called close contacts that turn positive. It's 3%. It's very low, even though it's higher than last year. It's very low, but we have a lot of just neighbors who are 7.5, 15, or even higher. And if I'm a statistician, like those are numbers that support the decision that was made. So I just don't see those changes happening anytime soon, because I don't know what data would be supporting a need to, if that makes sense. But
it does.
But really new.
And there's something you always close your quarantine letters with, and that's talking about the support that we've been getting and how much that has really gone hand in hand with how well the mask.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I felt, and I feel like, because for me, when, I made the recommendation of the board, for me, in the back of my mind, it always was going to come down to, can we follow through and make sure that we aren't going to still be quarantining, classrooms and closing schools? Because then if I were a parent or anyone, I'd be like, then what's the point? I mean, if that's where you just feel absolutely deflated and exasperated. But I'm just happy that it's been completely the absolute reverse, and we're not dealing with day-to-day issues that many other districts are dealing with, and I think that allows us to refocus our efforts elsewhere, which is good and positive.
Yeah. And so we've appreciated the support we've gotten from families just in working with us on the mask requirement, and we do think it's working. And so again, thank you for that. One more COVID-related question, I think, and that
only
is
one.
Only one, but it could lead to others.
It always could. It always could.
So, and again, thank you to those of you who have sent in questions to us. We solicit them in the month leading up to our virtual community engagement sessions, and so we always entertain your questions. So keep them coming. So the second question about COVID is, there's a lot in the news about vaccine mandates, and what will Lexington 2 do, if anything?
I mean, I'm glad you added that, if anything. I know we had the president come out with a whole bunch of mandates and all that, and many people were wondering, how is it going to affect schools, if at all? And the short answer is, we don't know. My immediate answer is it doesn't. But right now, I think everyone's just still trying to figure it out. Because I think even attorneys who were also sharing the same response I had are now kind of backing up, because now it just keeps getting more and more, complicated in the weeds. But right now, the reality is, we don't have a mandate. The district doesn't have one. The state doesn't have one. I don't see myself recommending a mandate, because we just don't know anything when we're not there. So I wish I had more information. I just don't. The one thing that I know we're doing, for our employees is we're having an incentive to be vaccinated, but that's not a mandate. That's an incentive to help everything out. But we don't. But there's no mandate. And I think we're still a ways off from even having that conversation. I fully expect that conversation to come back into the fold more than what it currently is in the news cycle, and I'm just going to say the news cycle, when they actually announce the approval of a vaccine for 5 to 11.
Yes.
Then to me, that changes everything.
Yes.
I mean, that's where you have a whole different conversation, and it'll be interesting to see where insurance companies, state and federal entities go, and funding, and I mean, that becomes a whole different one, and I can't even begin to, I don't know, draft that future, even creatively. I think we just need to see what happens, but I think that's when the conversation will get livelier.
So I remember we've had a vaccine event for kids to come or families to come. Do you see that we might consider something like that again?
It won't be might, we will.
Okay.
I can say. So when it does get announced for 5 to 11, we'll have another opportunity for individuals to get vaccinated. We've had conversations with Lexington Medical and DHEC. And we'll continue to, and we'll make sure that opportunity is available, much like how we've already done it for those 12 and up and for staff. Another opportunity that we're in the midst of, having discussions with Lexington Medical about is getting a booster for our employees, having an opportunity to be able to do that, because for those who may be unaware, the booster was only really formally recommended, approved, I shouldn't say approved, recommended.
Right.
For 65 and up and those who are autoimmune compromised. So, we do have some employees like that, so it won't be a major drive. I don't have to go to remote learning to do it,
Right.
but we're going to try and figure it out and have that available.
Great. So you ready for some non-COVID questions?
I feel like those are now the curveballs, because I just, you're just constantly in COVID. But
Okay, well, so here you go. We haven't heard anything about the Performing Arts Center in a while. Is it happening? And if it doesn't happen, then what? What do we know?
So the board on Thursday is having a special meeting to approve the construction documents for the Performing Arts Center district office. So I think the last time I may have presented on it was August. Does my body look like August 7th? Whatever that first Thursday in August was. I think that's when we did it. We did the overview and all that, and I may have had to run random update. But really, they were just designing it, which takes time, and this is the next step to it. So the board, actually, if you go on board docs, so if you go on the Lexington website, go over to the Board of Trustees, you see board docs, click on it, click on the meeting, and you can actually see all the wonderful drawings and everything else about the project. But it's out there for the board to approve. When they approve it, we go out there for the guaranteed maximum price and have that bid, and then it gets approved again in the board meeting in November, and then we break ground in December.
And remind everyone where it will be.
It will be located at our Platt Springs property in Springdale.
Okay, perfect.
So, yeah, I mean.
So it sounds like there's some activity coming up on that starting this week.
Yeah, yes, and so, no, Thursday. That's the next step for the board, to approve the construction documents, and we go from there.
Great. So we've been hearing reports in the media about teacher shortages. Is that true, and what does that mean for us here in Lexington too?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think it's not even just, like a teacher, was a staff or teacher? Teacher.
But you're right.
Well, I mean, yeah, I really want to make, it's not just teacher shortage, it's staff shortage.
Right. And so when you say that, you mean aides, you mean bus drivers, you mean, like
believe it or not,
everybody?
Bus drivers is like the only one that we're
right.
fully,
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of cracked that code, for bus drivers. Everyone else, I think, is a larger conversation. I think, it's just an evolving conversation. I think we're about to get on some interesting, go down a few rabbit holes and get a little philosophical here. But but in short, yes, there is a shortage. It is true. If anyone tells you otherwise, I don't think is aware of the facts surrounding the situation, because I don't care where you're located or what state. I mean, even a lot of our neighbors here, regardless of which one you choose, has vacancies. So these are real. And it's just a national trend that's going to be, continuing to grow. So how it's affecting us is, it's not helping. It does create issues, because what I think also many other people tend to forget is throughout any school year, you do have employees that leave in the middle of the year.
Right.
So what's important to think about is you may already have X number of vacancies that are going to be compounded by those who leave for whatever the reason may be throughout the year. And so if you couldn't fill those initial vacancies, how are you going to fill the new ones? And that creates larger issues. And where this whole shortage, I think, is forcing us as school systems into a conversation, and I want everyone to realize I'm not trying to exaggerate the problem by any stretch, but we are now being faced as school systems to be like, how can we provide this level of education when we have only this many resources, and resources meaning people. We're not even getting to funding. This is just, do we have bodies to throw in
Right.
somewhere? And I'll use a very good example. Let's use the Innovation Center. Takes a particular skill set, certification, all that stuff. We're not even getting to whether or not we're getting to efficacy or any of that. We're just getting to, are you certified, and is there a body that can come in? If I had about 3 or arguably any retirements in any of these programs, I'm already going to be facing an uphill or up mountain battle in being able to fill that. So now that calls into question, can I actually even have that program running? And this is what's happening to school systems everywhere, which is now we're forced to have conversations about what can we provide our students, especially if we can't get people who are certified to teach those classes. And that's going to be the problem is we just don't have anyone going into the field. We have more people leaving the field than there are coming into it. So it's basic math that's really already working against us. And it's a different world that's facing us. And when we talk about other positions, like other than teachers, one thing, I made this comment frequently, so I'm sure someone's already found a video, where look at what we're paying hourly around here. Like, you have some jobs that are paying $15 to $18 an hour that, we're at a point with a bonus. Like for a pizza delivery,
Right,
there's a
yeah.
$500 or $1,000 bonus just for that. We're reaching wages just to try and attract people that frankly are reminiscent of Chicago. I'm gonna throw that in. So if you don't already know, I'm from Chicago. But they're Chicago wages, and that's concerning because it wasn't sustainable, where I came from. It's not gonna be sustainable here. And for anyone that knows, it's harder to take away than giveth. So, it's creating a lot of not just short-term issues, but long-term problems as well. And I think I just said a whole lot there for what in theory could have been a simple question, but it's affecting all of us. And even the pool, that's a recurring point of conversation with any employer. Again, I don't even care if we're talking about schools, I'm saying anyone. Your applicant pool is grossly dwindling. And not only is it dwindling, you're not even getting into efficacy or competency.
Right.
And that's a whole different thing. And I'd be lying if I said we did not fill positions this year, that if that person told us no, I'm going to take something else, we would not have that position filled. A vacancy list would be far greater, and I'm not just talking teachers, I'm talking administrators, things that we legally have to have, positions that aren't just there to help. This is a larger problem than I think people are fully realizing.
Hey, so I'm curious, this is on topic but a little off topic. You in your superintendent's capacity, are you hearing of some innovative ways to address that nationwide teacher shortage or administrator shortage? Anything that's on the horizon? Because it's not just Lexington too. It's, as you said, and it's not just South Carolina. It's a problem we're seeing everywhere. Are you hearing anything interesting to kind of look at it, address it?
I'm going to say there's one that we've had some conversations, and I probably don't want to get too into
No,
it
that's-
because,
no, I
yeah,
didn't
no,
mean- yeah.
because it requires involvement of a partner in higher education.
Yeah.
But in short, I think if we're talking about like what makes being in education appealing, I'm gonna get on my soapbox here, and anyone can write me an email if they want to disagree with me. But when you turn on the TV, what exactly is making it look like that is the life to lead, right? I mean, look at how it's being portrayed by various, I shouldn't say various, all media outlets. I think I'll use that pronoun, all, because it doesn't really give the look that we have a profession that's being, treated respectfully. Words are a lot different than actual funding, this, so that, I mean, it's not even just about saying that you value the position, but our states or local state or federal entities supporting it even financially. If this is such an epidemic about having a number of people interested in coming into the field, where are the incentives coming from? And, I mean, and for school districts to have to do that, which we may have to, at the trend, the rate that we're
Right.
going, but that's not really our role. That should be something that be done at the state and federal level, that kind of helps out with whether you want to do the whole student loan thing or whatever it may be. But,
Right.
I mean, I think there's a lot there to unpack is what makes a field enticing. And, I think it's a real hard struggle to kind of sell. I can sell it because I'm in education, and I'm still in education, will continue to be in education, but, the average person, what their takeaways are about what's going on in schools day to day, that's a hard conversation to have. I don't think we're even getting into the weeds about all the fun stories. So maybe just sit there and reflect, everyone, when you think about news or social media, all the various stories that not just include what's going on with policy, law, board meetings, just even events that happen with students, staff, and parents and everything else. Like, you take all that together, that's a very interesting package. And that's something that I think we really have to overcome and almost go back to the Ichabod Crane days of saying, like, this is our pedagogue, and this is, the impact that this individual has on education, and you could be that person having this impact on everyone else.
Right.
And we're going to support you through it. You still got to be nice and all that, but we're going to support you. I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox.
I was going to say, I could have the offshoot conversation about this because I think it's a really interesting topic. But back to our questions from y'all. So Lex 2.5, speaking of good
That's
things going on,
positive.
let's
All
talk
right.
about Lex 2.5.
Yeah, that's positive. So Lex 2.5 is a structured after-school activity to help address learning loss that's been created due to the pandemic, and what all of our schools offer this. I want to stress that. All of our schools offer this, where they would identify students in the greatest of need based off, respective local metrics, and they notify parents who want to participate. But if you have a child that's participating in this, you're getting structured academic and recreational and, a little bit of, SEL time that kind of goes on for a couple of hours to 2.5 hours after school. We feed the students, we bus the students, and we really want to make sure it was an opportunity that, it wasn't burnout for the students, because again, I mentioned recreational and some
Right.
other things, so it's not just 2.5 hours of drill and kill. There's a lot of other things that are happening in there. Our own staff are staying after. Again, our staff, valuing people, our staff are staying after to help out and make sure that this is a reality. We will also want to make sure that the parents don't have to worry about anything. We're feeding the students, they get snacks, they even get dinner, and then we even provide the transportation home. So in theory, it's alleviating additional stress from our families, but we still provide something. But I'm hoping it continues to grow. I know some people were at first like, what is this? I don't want to. Now them report cards were coming out. And then people then we started getting a lot more students, but something tells me it's going to continue to grow.
Well, and one thing that we were talking about is it's not like you are enrolled in it now and it's continuous to the end of the year. They're in chunks.
And I should clarify that. Like, you're not just in it forever. You are basically in there based off the criteria, but also, I mean, we we have a few set sessions, and it's not every, I mean, so like, we really want to make sure if you did participate, it's not that overwhelming. Because I know, it's hard to believe, but students have lives outside of
Yeah,
school.
yeah. So, yeah, so it's in those kind of manageable pieces. And so I think it's a great program. One thing I do want to mention is our families and some other stakeholders might remember getting the survey about how should our district spend its ESSER dollars. And that this is one of the we heard back from y'all that one of the things you wanted to see was extra academic help at an after-school program, mental health supports. In any event, this directly addresses what we heard.
We've really hit all of it. If you want to go on Lex 2.0 and look at previous communications, like it was mental health was number one.
Yeah.
Then it was the after-school stuff, and then the third one was tech. It was tech, I believe.
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
overwhelmingly hit all three of those. Like we were already addressing the mental health thing, and that's also its own positive story.
Right.
As we keep getting more and more stories of lives we are saving, literally, and others. So I'm very happy and appreciative of that. The after school tutoring, I didn't want just to have random tutoring and have it needed to be structured and organized and something that was universal for consistency's sake across the district, and we've delivered on that. So shout out to all of our teachers, all of our building admin and district admin. I think, they've been able to take a good idea frame. They've done a lot, and kudos to all of them. And then we had the tech piece, and that was something we were already working on.
Right.
We did the audits, and I think we're at a point that maybe even by Christmas, we'll see that we'll have everything actually addressed in that audit. And we are in the process of making a long-range technology plan that is fully fleshed out with real numbers, and that's something that Thursday, we're bringing that to the board for their information. But we've already been moving on, addressing all the areas for growth that have been identified in that audit. So we've hit everything that the community has been surveyed about, saying that we need to be, and everything else. Like I think I really want to stress, it's not like you had these top three things. Mental health was like
Right.
what, over 80%.
Yeah.
Everyone
It
was
was
saying
a
that
big
was a
piece.
priority.
Mhm.
Tutoring was 70, and then and then 60 for tech, and literally everything else was like in the teens.
Yeah.
Like nothing else even compared
Right.
to those three items, which is very important to kind of stress.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing I was thinking about with 2.5.
I actually totally forgot about that survey.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens in a few months.
I live in it. So, another question, somebody writes in, I've started getting a newsletter from my school. Are other schools doing them too? And what can I expect? What's this about?
I'm just happy when there's that like I hear people opening up emails. So I that's good. The newsletters?
Yes,
So
from the schools, yeah.
Yeah. So what was the whole question?
Oh, so somebody said they started getting a newsletter at their school, and are other schools doing them too? What's this about? What can I expect?
All right. So yes, that's new. So something that we changed, that we added last year was we had a new community. Like I think we sent out we sent out the first notification
Yeah.
from Lex 2?
Yes.
And everyone was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, who? Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not stealing your identity. But like, it came out, and we acquired this program that goes within Power School called Bright Arrow, where it allows us to do voice calls, texting, and email, and it can even be translated in the family's home language. So we were already reaching out to a significant part of our population as well, but everyone could get the same information, and it could be done quickly, and there was a way to monitor and track it as well. So we did that, and then that was the first step towards the communication piece. I know we boosted up some board policies about social media because that was kind of
Yeah.
lacking.
Yeah.
And I know then going into the summer, one of the new expectations that we're given to all the schools is here are the new communication expectations. So in theory, from each of your child homeschools, you're getting a weekly email update about whatever is going on, that week within that building. There are monthly newsletters that I know they range in aesthetics and formatting and maybe content, but we're getting there. It's new, and I think we've only had two.
Yep.
Right? Is it?
Yep,
It's been two.
yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, because the new wave is coming out right now.
Mm-hmm.
We really tried to beef up the social media presence, and those are varying, but we're trying to get some consistency so that way everyone can get access to the same level of information, and we're not doing why does this school do this and not another. We're trying to get there, and we're trying to streamline quality, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's new. I mean, it's only been 2 months.
Yeah,
so,
but look,
so we're gonna get there.
even still, you know, I get to see the newsletters and I scan them, and there's some good information about ways that you as a family can get involved at school, some of the upcoming events, important dates for your calendar. So look out for those. You have the weekly communications, but also the monthly ones. I've seen some employee profile features, some
Yeah.
good stuff in those. So
I mean, I'll say this: like, I feel like my inbox of parents and students to some degree providing their assessment of communication. I feel like that's really changed. Like I know the Bright Arrow last year that really helped. You know, but now all the different schools, like, I mean, that's definitely not a conversation I get often. I've heard something along those lines more about range and quality, but again, this is new for everyone. We're working on that. I know future plans that we have are, you know, the website, all that stuff, but you know, when you got COVID in everyday life and staff shortages, it kind of gets a little challenging. So, you know, we're trying to do what we can.
well, we've touched on some of this today, but I always like to, we're coming to the end, but I always like to wrap up our sessions here talking about some of the good stuff going on, some of the things that you're excited about that you're hearing out in the Lexington 2 community and elsewhere. But what are some of the things that you're feeling really excited about? We've talked about 2.5 being one of them, but what give me a couple more.
Yeah, you know, I'm probably going to
SEL, special
Yeah,
ed,
no,
anything?
yeah, I think I'm definitely going to reiterate a few things, and one of them is, you know, the 2.5 program that's going really well. Parents have been very positive about it, and even staff. I don't want to leave them out. Like, I mean that's going well, which I think is very beneficial for our students. And I think
Oh, are there ongoing, so if I'm a parent and my child, can I get my child in or considered for that program?
when the next session comes up,
Okay.
and I would just recommend to reach out to your building
Okay.
principal about
Excuse me
that.
for-
Oh,
yeah, I
no,
was
no,
thinking
no,
about
but that's a
that.
good question.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so, but every session you get a new batch of, you know, in theory, a new batch of students that
Okay.
are eligible.
All right.
So, and you'll be reached out to, but reach out to your building
Okay,
principal.
all right.
You know, and I mentioned, you know, and we talked briefly about SEL, and I know that's a big one. I made the off comment about, you know, but hearing from staff and in some cases parents about how us already having the school social workers and trying to, I mean, you know, we still have work to do, but already the positive impact it's had on students. I mean, we've literally saved lives, and to me that nothing kind of gets better than that. It's hard to really top that. But I think other steps that we've done, like, you know, I think you forwarded me an article of a school district, like, realizing they need to get interpreters.
Yeah,
I'm like, well,
yeah.
I already did that.
Yeah.
I have 4 of them. You know, we had to get 4, originally 3, and then we had to
Yeah,
move up 4.
talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, you know, so we hired interpreters this year because that was something we didn't feel, we know we were not really engaging with a good section of our community as well as we could have. But also we just don't have that many employees like on our district that are actually, you know, bilingual. And so, you know, already just the impact in terms of, you know, translating important like letters or documents or being there to engage with families about academic or behavioral performance or in an IEP meeting or what have you. I mean, it's just already within like what, 6 weeks, it's just been night and day. And like, and I know going to all the buildings, that's something that regularly gets brought up that, you know, people have been very much happy and appreciative of, you know, not of the interpreters, the social worker. We have a set bilingual director, and I know we're gonna have lots of other announcements, I feel, over the next couple of months about where we're going to be going. I think we just started a bilingual parent committee, which is great. So we're building up this coalition, slowly but surely. So it's going well. And a lot of our new curriculum, we made sure is available in Spanish. So we're really trying to make those strides. So like, seeing that article you forwarded, I was just like, well, we're ahead. And I felt good about that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good that we're at least, ahead of it, and we're building out to that. For other, positive pieces, like, I mean, I made the joke, the fact that we have to keep schools open is a success story, but that is, and that really matters. And I really want to be able to provide that consistency for the students, for the staff, and for families as much as we can, because that obviously matters. It affects everyone when they're not in school. And I think everyone's just been reminded and felt it and everything else. And, I think after just whatever the pandemic has been and continues to be, like, we got to try and provide some sort of level of consistency for everyone. But in terms of, positive pieces, like, I mean, I'm excited that we're expanding upon, they're little but many, right? We're expanding upon classroom libraries and media center libraries. I'm excited about that. We're addressing our technology, and we've had very, very few issues even though I know we're taping them, but ironically, like, we haven't had anywhere near the same issues we've had historically. So already it's having a positive impact, and we'll get to where we need. We'll see what happens with the PAC, and we're moving forward on a variety of things, and I think we're just trying to figure out the pacing for everything, because the reality is it's been 6 weeks and it feels like 6 months. And I say it very frequently as a joke, but we all feel it, because it's just that, and again, I think almost kind of going into some questions, it's like everything that's happening, and it's just like that whole sense of burnout. And I really do feel like when we had those first 2 weeks that we were closing schools and moving classrooms, that was a brick wall. And it's hard to keep, rallying people just every other week, because it gets to a point where you're like, we haven't even hit Columbus Day or Halloween. We're just October 5th right now.
Yep.
And it feels like, we're ready to come back from winter break.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's very real, and and I think everyone's feeling it, but that's something too, which is, we have things that we need to address. We have things that we would definitely like to be doing that others would like to see us do, but then we still have all this involving COVID, and to say we can ignore it, I'm going to be blunt. I think that's kind of an ignorant way to go. Like, to say we can just power on through that, I don't think that's very much realistic of what the situation is, and I don't think that's really being cognizant of how people are feeling right now. I mean, I'll give you a real story about this. Like, there was, because I do quarterly staff conversations, all the buildings. They can go for 5 minutes, they can go for an hour, who knows. And I remember in one building we had a lot of nothing but COVID questions, and that's fine. We answered and went through them all. But you can tell it's just talking about it, you just kind of feel like you're just sinking deeper in this tunnel of some kind. And finally someone was like, well, tell us something positive. And I was dead quiet for 5 seconds. And that was something, like, I have to check myself, because you just get so entrapped in this world, it's hard to think of anything else.
Right.
It really is. I think we got a number of little fun positive things that are all out there and happening, but we're really trying to balance it. I think we're on the cusp of quite a few things, but again, it's how hard do we want to push everything, because I think we all, and I've gotten emails from people saying, you said A, B, and C, right? Where are we? And they may not be happy with where we're at, but at the same time, we have the staffing issue, we got COVID, we have all these other things. It does all significantly impact, which kind of goes back to almost that the comment I was making, where school systems are being forced now to reevaluate what we provide and how and to what extent. And that's not a good place to be in. And that's not a threat or anything, that's just reality.
Right.
And I think
That's applicable to any.
Well, right, I mean, because I can tell you even a lot of our
Yeah.
schools, they have really good ideas of additional things they would like to do. But if we don't have the staff to do them, it's like, I agree, it's a great idea, but we just don't know. We're not even talking, and again, to stress, we're not even talking money. We're just talking bodies. And not everything can be a volunteer. And I can already hear, a great number of people saying, I'll come over and volunteer. Probably my wife, nope, it's fine. And, but doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
They're not certified, they're not teachers teaching a class. We can't have a volunteer teaching,
Right.
I don't know, welding.
Yeah.
You get where these are real things that we have to consider. And I'm trying not to sound so downtrodden about, but it's the reality of what we got. And we have to have those real conversations about it. And I guess that's my fun job, and we'll get through there.
Well, and that's one thing, I think that's a good thing, that you are always about. You do a lot of, and share a lot of positive news. I love that piece, but you also have to tell people the reality of what's going on, and I think you do a good job of doing that. And so that's kind of like what I take it with, but we've had a lot of really good stuff we've talked about too, so.
Yeah, and we're only in October.
That's right, my favorite
So,
month. Yeah.
another
slide to the winter break.
It's kind of important.
I know
It's like we're
about it,
just
yeah.
in October.
Exactly, I
But
know.
we're
the perspective. Yes.
yes.
So that's all the questions I have. I have a couple of things I wanted to, and jump in if you think of anything that you want to remind folks of. So it is October. That is National Principals Month, and I would like to give a shout out to all of our Lexington 2 leaders who, through this really challenging time with COVID and, if you want to say staff shortages, rolling out new programs and everything, our principals have done a fabulous job. Most stuff you might not even be seeing because a lot happens behind the scene, but shout out to all of them. We announced this week our District Teacher of the Year. We had a great field of teachers from all of our schools, but congratulations to Allie Brantley, a 5th grade teacher at Springdale Elementary, and to all of our Teachers of the Year. But Allie will be going on to represent Lexington out in the community. She can speak with you if you'd like at any of the events, and she will be our representative for State Teacher of the Year, and that winner is announced in the spring. Remember, I was telling Dr. Wade that I was going to not wear my glasses, so here I am, and I'm looking at my writing going, what the heck did I say? Anyways, Wednesday is an early release day. I've written myself a note. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about, I don't typically announce schools' personal, their events, but there is one that's coming up on October 28th. Trick or Treat Lane at Airport High School. It is an event that they have held for a billion years. I can't even remember how many, but it is for the community, and it is a safe family event to bring the kids in. I know you went last year with your kids.
Well, I think we handed out candy.
So stay tuned for more about that. October 28th, and Airport will be releasing more details about that in the coming days. Anything that I missed about October or anything coming up? Board meeting this week?
No.
No? Anyways, we have enjoyed our time with you, and thanks again for making time to hear some of the things happening here in Lexington too. Dr. Wade's email line is always open for questions.
No.
I'll share I'll share the link on social media. Keep those questions coming. They make these shows, I think, really newsworthy. So anyways, have a great day or evening, and we'll see you again next month. I have my date, November 3rd, Wednesday, November 3rd. So take care.